Imagine this, a young Roman soldier named Marcus, standing on the battlefield, his hands trembling as he grips his sword. The enemy looms large on the horizon, their war cries growing louder with each passing second. Fear grips him, his thoughts spiral into chaos. What if I fail? What if I die? What if everything I've trained for comes to nothing? In the midst of his panic, Marcus recalls the teachings of his mentor, a Stoic philosopher who had once told him, "The world outside you is chaotic, Marcus. But the chaos within, that is where the real battle lies. Anchor yourself, like a rock in a storm, and you will stand firm while the waves crash around you." Taking a deep breath, Marcus focuses on what he can control, his stance, his breathing, his strategy. Slowly, the fear dissipates, not because the danger is gone, but because he's learned to face it without letting it consume him. This story of Marcus mirrors the struggles we face today. Though we may not be on battlefields, anxiety often feels just as overwhelming. But Stoicism offers us tools to face life's challenges with resilience and calm. Now, you might be wondering, how does a story from ancient Rome relate to the anxiety many of us feel today? The truth is, the emotions we experience in modern life are not so different from those of people in the past. Anxiety, the constant worry, the feeling of being overwhelmed by life's uncertainties, these are not new struggles. And Stoicism, a philosophy that has stood the test of time, offers timeless wisdom to help us navigate these feelings. At its core, Stoicism teaches us that while we cannot control everything around us, we have complete power over how we respond. This idea is particularly valuable when dealing with anxiety. Anxiety often arises from the fear of the unknown or the fear of things beyond our control. But Stoicism teaches us that these fears are not as powerful as we might think. In fact, the only real thing we control is our reaction to the world. So, what can we learn from Stoicism to help us overcome anxiety? How can we apply these ancient principles to the challenges we face today? Let's explore this together, starting with the key Stoic concept that Marcus had to rely on, distinguishing between what we can control and what we cannot. The dichotomy of control is one of the foundational ideas in Stoicism. It is simple yet profound. There are things in life we have control over, and there are things we don't. The trick is to focus our energy on the former and let go of the latter. For example, when you feel anxious about a work presentation, you cannot control the outcome, how the audience will react, whether you'll make mistakes, or if everything will go perfectly. What you can control is your preparation. How much effort you put into practicing, how you choose to manage your nerves, and how you respond in the moment. Reflect for a moment. What situations in your life are you anxious about that are beyond your control? Are you putting too much energy into things you cannot change? One of the core tenets of Stoicism is the idea of living in the present moment. Anxiety often arises when we get caught up in the past or future, worrying about things that have already happened or fearing things that haven't happened yet. In both cases, we are losing sight of the present, which is the only time we truly have. The Stoics were masters at reminding themselves to focus on the now. Epictetus, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, taught that we should make use of present opportunities, because they are the only ones guaranteed to us. When we direct our attention to the present, we stop ruminating over past mistakes or worrying about potential failures in the future. Think about a time when anxiety took hold of you. Was it because you were thinking about a mistake you made in the past, or were you projecting worries about the future? Reflecting on those moments can help you identify patterns in your thinking and refocus your attention on what is within your control right now. Another powerful Stoic tool for overcoming anxiety is negative visualization, a technique where you mentally prepare for worst-case scenarios. This may sound counterintuitive. After all, who wants to think about negative outcomes? But by imagining the worst possible situation, you can reduce the fear and uncertainty surrounding it. For example, imagine you are worried about losing your job. In a moment of anxiety, you might picture yourself without a job, feeling the stress of financial strain. Instead of allowing these thoughts to spiral into panic, the Stoic approach is to calmly consider what you could do in such a scenario. Could you find another job? How would you adjust your budget? By mentally preparing for the worst, you are less likely to be overwhelmed if it happens. The beauty of this technique lies in its ability to transform anxiety into action. By thinking through potential challenges, You gain clarity on how to navigate them, which can be incredibly empowering. Pause for a moment. Have you ever faced a situation where negative visualization might have helped you? What outcome did you fear, and how could preparing for it have changed your experience? Before we go deeper, it's important to address a few common misconceptions about Stoicism and anxiety. Stoicism is not about suppressing emotions or pretending that everything is fine when it's not. It's not about toughing it out or ignoring your feelings. On the contrary, Stoicism encourages us to acknowledge our emotions, but not to be controlled by them. For example, you might think that Stoicism teaches you to simply stop worrying. But that's not the case. Stoicism recognizes that anxiety is a natural human emotion. Instead of pushing it away, it urges us to understand its source and take practical steps to manage it. The goal is not to eliminate anxiety, but to reduce its power over you by changing how you relate to it. Another pitfall to avoid is the belief that Stoicism requires a detached or cold attitude towards life. Stoicism doesn't ask you to shut off your compassion, love, or passion. Rather, it asks you to engage with life fully, but without being enslaved by your emotional reactions. The Stoic approach is about finding peace in the face of adversity, not about rejecting joy, love, or hope. Reflect. Do you sometimes feel that acknowledging anxiety makes you weak, or that Stoicism means you have to suppress emotions? How can you reshape your thinking to recognize Stoicism as a tool for emotional clarity rather than avoidance? One of the most profound teachings of Stoicism is the idea of acceptance. This doesn't mean resigning to everything that happens passively, but rather accepting what is beyond our control and choosing how we respond to it. Anxiety often stems from resistance, fighting against circumstances, fearing outcomes that are beyond our control. When we resist reality, we amplify our anxiety. The Stoic approach teaches us to accept the world as it is, while still taking proactive steps where we can. This acceptance allows us to preserve our energy and peace of mind. Imagine you're stuck in traffic on your way to an important meeting. The more you resist the situation, the more anxious you become. But a Stoic response would be to acknowledge the situation. This is beyond my control. I cannot change the traffic, but I can control my reaction. In this moment, acceptance doesn't mean giving up. It means shifting your focus to what you can influence, such as your attitude and emotional state. Reflect. What situations in your life are you fighting against that you can't change? How might accepting those circumstances help you reclaim your peace of mind? Stoics like Marcus Aurelius famously kept journals to reflect on their thoughts and emotions. This simple yet powerful practice can be transformative in overcoming anxiety. By putting our thoughts onto paper, we gain clarity and can examine them with a more objective mindset. Journaling helps us process our feelings, reduce internal clutter, and gain perspective. If you're feeling overwhelmed by anxiety, take a few minutes to write down what's bothering you. Often, simply putting your fears into words can reveal their true nature. Many of our anxieties are exaggerated in our minds. Writing helps us see what is truly within our control and what we must let go of. A great Stoic practice is to start your journal with a question: what can I control today? This directs your mind toward actionable steps, focusing on what you can influence in the present moment, rather than the many things that lie beyond your reach. Pause and reflect. Have you ever tried journaling to process your emotions? What might happen if you took 5 minutes each day to reflect on your thoughts and clarify what is causing your anxiety? At the heart of Stoicism is the pursuit of virtue. The Stoics believed that living a virtuous life, one of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, leads to true peace and fulfillment. In the context of anxiety, virtue plays a critical role. When we act with virtue, we align ourselves with our highest values, and in doing so, we feel more secure and grounded. Anxiety often stems from a feeling of being disconnected from our purpose or values. By focusing on what we can control, our choices, actions, and thoughts, we cultivate inner peace and resilience. For example, if you're anxious about an important decision at work, focus on acting with integrity and wisdom. By prioritizing virtue over external outcomes, you release the pressure of achieving a specific result and instead commit to the process of doing what is right. Reflect. What virtues do you most admire? How can you cultivate them in your daily life, especially when faced with anxiety-inducing situations? Let's return to Marcus for a moment. Remember him standing on the battlefield, anxious about what was to come? Through his practice of Stoicism, he was able to focus on what was within his control, his actions, his mindset, and his response to fear. By doing so, he not only overcame his anxiety but became a stronger and more resilient person. This is the essence of Stoicism's power to help us overcome anxiety. By acknowledging our emotions, accepting what is beyond our control, and focusing on our values and actions, we can transform our relationship with anxiety. Rather than allowing fear to dominate us, we learn to face it with calm, clarity, and courage. As you move forward in your life, I encourage you to ask yourself, what is in my control right now, and how can I respond with virtue and acceptance? In doing so, you will find that, like Marcus, you can face any storm, internal or external, with a steady heart and a clear mind. As we've explored throughout this video, Stoicism offers us powerful tools to overcome anxiety, but it's important to remember that this is not a one-time fix. It's a journey, a process of constantly choosing to focus on what we can control, accepting what we cannot, and responding to life's challenges with wisdom and virtue. Overcoming anxiety through Stoicism doesn't mean that fear and worry will disappear completely. It's not about erasing emotions, but about learning how to live alongside them without being consumed by them. The key is understanding that anxiety is not the enemy, it's a natural part of the human experience. What Stoicism teaches us is how to transform our relationship with that anxiety, so it no longer dictates our actions or holds us captive. Consider this: how would your life change if, instead of constantly battling your anxiety, you made peace with it? What if you could accept the moments of uncertainty, knowing that you have the strength within you to face them head-on? Stoicism shows us that we don't need to be controlled by our fears. We can stand firm, like Marcus, as an unwavering rock amidst the storm. As you leave this video, I challenge you to take one small step toward applying Stoicism in your life. Maybe it's taking a moment each day to practice the dichotomy of control or journaling about what's weighing on your mind. Perhaps it's accepting a difficult situation and choosing to focus on your response rather than the outcome. Whatever it is, remember, progress, not perfection. Ask yourself today, what is one thing I can do to face my anxiety with courage and clarity? And what small action can I take right now to start living a life that's guided by virtue and wisdom, no matter the circumstances? Thank you for joining me on this journey. Remember, Stoicism doesn't promise that life will be free of anxiety, but it gives us the tools to navigate life's challenges with grace and resilience. You have the power to choose how you respond, and that choice is your path to true inner peace. If you found this video helpful, I encourage you to subscribe for more insights on how ancient philosophy can be applied to modern life. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What's one Stoic principle you'd like to apply to your life today? I'd love to hear from you. Take care, and may you face whatever comes your way with the calmness, clarity, and courage that Stoicism offers.